Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's the radioactive pop with Danny Limelight, United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance blog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Poppy.
They want NWA? Let's give them NWA.
Who are those guys?
And then there's the other guys.
We're the other guys. We're the guys nobody ever bets on.
The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show.
It's time for the Other Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts, Tim, Dave, and Jeremy.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and what can we tell you? We are the Other Alliance Guys, a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information around the National Wrestling Alliance, the United Wrestling Network, and various independents around the world. My name is Tim, and I am joined by my two pals in podcasting. This is Jeremy. How you doing, my friend?
Doing well. I've never had an Apple Music library.
Never had. You know what? I got Apple Music and I downloaded everything and I've had it for a few years and I got rid of it just trying to cut costs. And yeah, man, I kind of miss it. Now. I'm starting to like our theme music here. And we are joined by the fantasy booker himself, the guy who went to the Crockett Cup, survived both days, plus the dark matches and the FanFest. He's Dave Scooby. How are you, Dave?
Doing well.
You absolutely exhausted now?
Yeah. I'm feeling my age.
Yeah. I hear you. Just watching it, I got exhausted. Like we were saying off at the front, like I'm ready to go to bed by the time that thing, wrapped up night 1 and night 2. But hey, it was a hell of a pay-per-view, guys. I really, really enjoyed it. I'm with our friend Dodie, who called it maybe the best pay-per-view of the Lightning One era. It had to be 40, 50 matches or so on there. It was insane. It was expensive, but it was insane. And Jeremy, I know you're down for the count. You also have a absolutely despised fight on a near esoteric level, so you kind of avoided this one. Is Jeremy frozen? He's frozen. He's out. That's it. Fight has hacked the. Here he is. Here he is. He's coming back, guys. Anyway, Fight has hacked the stream. They have kicked Jeremy out. There he is.
It was those damn clowns.
It was the clowns. It was the brothers of Funstruction. That's right. That's what Mike says. It was the clowns indeed. Those effing clowns. Clowns have dirt on people. They are pushed this hard in the NWA. Media Mike. Listen, kind of with Dave on this one, Mike, and we're not going to give those clowns in solidarity to our brother Jeremy any more airtime than they possibly deserve. They're not a bad tag team under that gimmick there, Dave. What did you think of them?
As a tag team, they're very good, but if you don't like clowns, there were several people that just didn't like the clown gimmick, but the guys can wrestle.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things is it's just been announced that NWA will be heading back to Chicago I believe the first weekend in July. And then at the end of August will be 75 in St. Louis. But they're going back for another round of shows. Plus, I believe they may be doing some taping. Well, the Clown Brothers, the brothers of Funstruction, are from, I believe, the Milwaukee area, which is an hour and a half outside of Chicago. So it's just they're using local talent in the Chicago area to then bring in people for the bigger shows. Now, these smaller shows that they're going to be having, they're just going to be local to that area. I'm not sure if they're actually going to film them or not, but it'd be smart if they do. But using the Clown Brothers, it's a logical thing for location. If you're just going for location, that they're known in the Chicago area and in the Milwaukee area, that people are going to hopefully come see them if they put them in some decent matches.
Yeah, it would be. I guess it would be smart if they're to continue using local talent, but I mean, we all know what Jeremy thinks of these guys, and I certainly understand. But like Mike says, construction worker, sex operator, evacuator, I don't care. They were pushed too much too soon, like Roman Reigns. Well,
Now, I, for the sake of the podcast, and because it was on YouTube, I watched this match. I watched it like this as much as I could. But I watched this match, and while I do agree that it does feel like they're being pushed super hard, I don't think that they're being pushed in the sense of let's cram these guys down the people's throat and strap rockets on them and get them in title contention. I think this was more of a let's fuck up people's brackets. Let's throw a curveball in there, because through all of this, what I saw was two guys who could fucking wrestle.
They
were good. They
Yeah,
were
very.
cohesive. They have a very unique gimmick that nobody else is doing right now like that.
Mm-hmm.
Use them. I'll watch like this if what I'm seeing is good. They didn't shit the bed, so props.
That's a very fair assessment for a guy who just doesn't dig clowns.
Yeah,
So
and
good for you,
I
man.
don't. If they were to if I was to see him at a show, I would go the other way. If I got blocked, I'd knock one of them the fuck out, and then I'd run the other way, screaming like a little girl, probably. But yeah,
Yeah, my
they were
oldest son's
good.
the same way. Yeah. Here's DKM's here. Let's not get carried away. The clowns were okay at best. I think he means. I mean they were certainly serviceable, and I thought they were pretty good compared to some of the tag teams you might see on the on the independent circuit out there.
Yeah.
Let's just see who else is in the chat here. Mike, we know Willie's here. Willie, always a loyal fan of NWA Pro Wrestling, but not a fan of the Pillsbury Doughboy. Tyrus with his 10 pounds of gold. I had mentioned that I quit Apple Music, and now I kind of like that theme song for our show here. And well, he says the only apples I like are the fruit pie, the cobbler, and the cider, and the juice at Applebee's. So, there you go.
Cobbler sounds fire.
Yeah, that sounds good right now. Not a fan of the clowns either is Mr. Bowen. They belong in the circus or the WWE. I think Willie would say that there probably isn't much of a difference between the two, but there you go. Here's I think we got a Tyrus joke. 2 things you don't do in life: don't cheat people out of their money. And the other is never go in a restaurant where Tyrus and the Fixers are in it. Oh, Willie. Yeah, man. What are we touching on in this episode, guys? We got a big episode. We are the only 60-minute podcast. It takes 120 minutes to complete now. Used to be 90. Now it's just
we're professionals.
It's just gone. We're doing Crockett Cup Night 1 right off the bat, and we're going to be recapping what happened in those shows. As we mentioned, Dave was actually there, giving us. He can give us all of the inside scoop from the floor level. So that includes the FanFest matches, those dark matches, plus the pre-show, and then the pay-per-view. So we got some matches to get through tonight. We're gonna have to go a little quicker than usual. Then in our Championship Wrestling from Jeremy segment, Jeremy have the top 3 from the UWN. That's Derby. That's Car Shield. I always want to say Hollywood, and that's Memphis.
Yep.
And finally anchoring the show, I Respect You, Booker Man, what we call the segment. Dave's going to talk about the return of Colby Corino, how you can fantasy book that, and the turn, the pivot of Ricky Morton, which obviously was something that I know we actually did talk about it a little bit, and the possibility that might happen. But I don't think anyone actually expected it, really, in the end, which is great. That's what I want out of my pro wrestling, right? What was the crowd reaction? I know we'll get to it, Dave, but while it's off the top of my head, what was the crowd reaction to Ricky turning?
They really didn't know what was happening. It's almost like, I can't believe this. When Kerry took the belt and was going to go after a res, I thought he was going to hit him and then walk away and leave his dad high and dry.
Right.
But when Ricky pulled the belt and then Kerry exits the ring, I'm just like, I didn't see it happening at all. And when it did happen, I mean, I was just like, holy crap. All the guys in my row and the row in front of me were just like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah. So good. I joked on Twitter that, like, what we need now is Alexandra York to come out and manage Richard Morton once again. But I see a Hassan Terrell. Hello, I'm not familiar with the name, but good to see you, my
Hello.
friend. Welcome.
Thank you.
And he mentions something I want to talk about right off the bat. Rest in peace to the Iron Sheik. The Iron Sheik, as we've all heard on social media today, passed away. Just put you guys on the outside to cover up my my ugly mug. Yeah, the Iron Sheik, guys, 81 years old, went quietly today. What a career. Spanned from generally 72, although, you know, I think about 92. I know he did some wrestling right up until, you know, 2010 or thereabouts. The Iron Sheik certainly had an impact on me as a wrestling fan, and I'm sure a lot of the guys, people watching right now, you know, he wrestled all over the National Wrestling Alliance. Obviously, that picture, he was with the Mid Atlantic Championship there, which he won from Jim Brunzell, which is kind of funny if you know the feud story. Maybe my favorite Iron Sheik story, who obviously was such a character on Twitter and generally told everything to go F itself. Although I believe those were his managers who were actually doing that, but certainly in line with his character. But, you know, the Iron Sheik had a long-standing, I want to say almost decades-long problem with B. Brian Blair. And about how he hated him, how he was going to make him humble and do other things that I'm not going to say to demonetize this program to him. Never really, to my knowledge, fully explained what the problem was. And then around 2010, 2012, around there, he was watching on a podcast with somebody, a watch along to a match, and he went, "That's B. Brian Blair? Oh, I made a mistake. It's Jim Brunzell I hate. I hate Jim Brunzell." And then he just, you know, that was it. And now, Jim, I'm going to make you humble and do things to your body. That was, you know, just terrible. I laughed so hard. You know, some of my particular favorite memories as a kid was going to Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. And, you know, I thought I'd be a smarmy little so-and-so. Me and my friend Kevin would stand up and put our hands on our hearts for the Russian national anthem when he and Volkov people would throw garbage at us, you know. But I love that heel stuff. Jeremy, you wrote something in the Discord today about what you thought of him. What did any comments on the Iron Sheik?
Yeah, in the Discord, I had responded to one of your messages, and white meat baby faces were a dime a dozen back in the Sheik's day. And a true let me at him, I'll kill that motherfucker heel was a rarity. And the Sheik embodied that. He was the definition of a heat magnet. He knew just the right thing to say, when to say it, how to say it, and who to say it to. Be it a wrestler across from him or somebody sitting in the front row. Right. You know, there was nobody better at that time whenever I was growing up that encompassed all of that and was one hell of an athlete in the ring.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. Dave, what about you? Favorite Iron Sheik moments or memories?
I don't know if I'd say memories or moments, but I mean, he was a Olympic trained wrestler.
Yeah.
And I'd put him almost in the same category as a Harley Race or maybe a Killer Kowalski. They could wrestle the pro wrestling style, but they could also wrestle to hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
That it's one of these things of it was a job to him, And when he ended up becoming the evil guy, it's one of these things of, as a baby face, you sometimes have to work at being a baby face, but most of the time you get the shine. It's easy. Being a heel, you have to keep that up 24/7. And it's one of these things that people despised him. And then years down the line, when he ended up going with the Sergeant Slaughter turn and the Iranian flag and Mustafa and all that, it was just there were several different roles that he played throughout his career.
Mm-hmm.
That, I mean, he was in pro wrestling, but he was also a trainer for the U.S. Olympic wrestling team.
Right.
And to be somebody not of the United States, but who came in and was given that, you have to have talent. And I mean, he made the best of whatever situation he was in. And then, I mean, even up to all the stuff on Twitter. Granted,
Right.
it's him, quote unquote, but it was somebody writing for him. But if you didn't know, that's his style. That's his phrasings. That's how he was. So it's one of these things of, he will be missed. And I mean, 81 years old. I mean, up until a few years ago, he was still doing, I believe back in like 2018, he was still doing like WrestleCons and stuff like that. And it's amazing at what his career did for him, as well as all the people around him.
It's true.
Anybody he was in the ring with, they got pushed up the ladder, but then it was up to them to stay on that level that he brought them up to.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, it's a great loss. It's a great loss.
It is a great loss, and there's so many stories. We could probably spend an entire show just talking about the Iron Sheik, but like this is a guy, like you mentioned, who helped train in the U.S. Olympic team, and who, you know, he had a wife who's still with us for 47 years, I read today, an American wife, and he had 4 kids with her. You know, and this is a guy who loved the USA from all accounts, right? And all the stuff you would read online up before today kind of suggested, oh, you know, maybe he's kind of a rough guy to know. But all of the outpouring today that has come out from the people that we know or follow or love or respect in the business, Dave Marquez comes to mind, just very, you know, heartfelt message to Sheiky and his family. One of my favorite moments was, if you guys will indulge me a sec, back in the mid '90s, there was this show called Maccabee Mania they would do every couple of years, and I forget where it is, where they would held it, but Maccabee would be the name of the promoter. And in the events, he would like come out in like a superhero costume as the Mighty Maccabee. I forget his first name. And it was the proceeds from the show would go to his synagogue and to other Jewish, charities and events that needed the money. And he booked the Iron Sheik. And so Maccabee, the story that Steve Corino tells, you can find it online. It's so funny, where Maccabee says, hey, you know, he's going to wrestle Sheik in the main event. Can you go out and get some heat for us? He's like, yeah, sure, Bubba. You know, so out he goes. He does a promo where he just does the most anti-Semitic, racist diatribe that you've ever seen in your life about how, you know, like everyone here is dirty and filthy, right? And then he's just getting booed like crazy. And he goes back behind the curtain, puts his arm around Matt, and he's like, how did I do, Bubba? I do good for you. You know, he didn't. This is a guy who didn't live his character outside of the ring. You know, I always remember him with the USA flag and everything post WWE wrapped around his head. So,
yep,
it was certainly a big loss, and we're gonna miss that guy. I'll very quickly. we're a Crockett Cup giveaway for this bad boy. Nobody won it. Nobody out of all the entrants actually picked Murdoch's and Knox to win. So we'll have to figure out what it is we're going to do with that one. But it'll be another event down the road. Lots of great Sheiky stuff in the chat right now. And John Ceramic Fuzz, as I like to call him from Discord, agree with Scooby. True embodiment of the American dream. He had some great stories too about, he had some stories about everything. The Iron Sheik, that was part of the whole thing. But I think the story that we all kind of remember was Bob Backlund didn't want to drop the belt to Hogan when it was time for him to go away. He wanted a real shooter to be able to drop it to, and dropped it to the Iron Sheik. And arguably for his legacy, the Iron Sheik is the reason, and certainly a big part of the reason why Hulkamania exploded like it did.
Yep.
Hogan being the first and only guy to stand up out of the camel clutch and drop Sheiky onto the mat and hit that atomic leg drop, and 1, 2, 3, the era of arguably the greatest wrestling phenomenon in the history of the sport began. Maybe it might not have happened that way if it wasn't for the Iron Sheik. So Mike says, I'll give you 50 for it. You're gonna have to up that ante, buddy. Willie, you didn't enter the contest. I also picked him to win the Crockett Cup, but you gotta do that stuff on Twitter. So there you go. So yeah, condolences to the Iron Sheik and his family, and that's there. Let's go into the Crockett Cup, guys. I want to hear your thoughts on this stuff as we get through a ton of matches. We got to go fairly quickly if we're going to be even reasonably responsible time tonight. Dave, you were at the FanFest dark matches for night 1, in which there were 3, to my knowledge, when they started doing the first round. This, by the way, really annoyed me as a viewer, to tune in on the pre-show and find out that even on the pre-show, I had missed the Crockett Cup qualifying last chance match, and I missed 2 of the first round matches because I'm not at the show.
Yeah,
I wanted to watch, at least the 4-way match. But first things first, Dak Draper and Mims, Magnum Muscle defeat Rush Freeman and Brady Pierce. How did this go, Dave? Was it quick? Was it fast? Because we didn't see Rush any further.
I'm trying to think. I know it was roughly about a 10-minute match. It wasn't a bad match, but it's you almost didn't know really who to cheer for, because they'll push and then stop and push and then stop. That either team really didn't have momentum behind them.
Right.
Magnum Muscle had the most behind them, being that they quote unquote won the titles the last time, or defeated the champions the last time, but the wrong person had tagged in, and Billy reversed it. It's just one of these things of, if they have these younger teams, granted, you're going to have a winner and a loser, but they need to decide where they're going, how far you want to push them. And it's one of these things of, I really didn't know who to cheer for, because both of the teams are just getting started.
Right.
That they may be faces, but they haven't won me over yet.
Is my camera really awful right now? Am I all pixelated and stuff, or is it pretty normal?
That doesn't look too bad.
It doesn't look bad to me, but my eyesight's shit. So
okay, no big deal. So I mean, Magnum Muscle advances right off the bat on from the FanFest. That's the last we'll see of Rush in during this pay-per-view. I guess and Brady Pierce too, but they're going to go on to wrestle Mike Knox and Trevor Murdoch, and I think the thought was, well, that'll be it for Magnum Muscle. Thank you, Mandy, for telling me it's normal. I appreciate it. I have another screen. I have several screens here. One of them, I kind of, it's distracting. I should just turn it off, but I get a pixelated view. I'm having pixelation, but not bad. Okay. All right. Well, I'll have to see if I can fix that offline. Mike says they maybe faces both these teams, but you heard nothing of commentary stating so. That for them proving themselves for stakes of the cup, no handshake, no playing to the crowd either. Yeah. I thought it was weird to open with this match, but I mean, it was FanFest, so
Yeah.
I guess, the viewership is down. Then you got that Crockett Cup qualifier where you had the Outrunners, who were the late entrant to that 3-team last chance match. Daisy Kill, Sal the Pal with Gags and Jeremiah Plunkett and Eric Jackson. Yeah, 4-way elimination style that came down. I think Sal and Gags were out first. Is that right, Dave? Then
Yes.
Daisy Kill and Talos. Yep. This came down as I have learned online that to the Outrunners, Plunkett ended up hitting a double DDT, and then he and Jackson were going back and forth, squashing guys in the corner. But Turbo Floyd was able to chop block Plunkett, and they saved seized the moment for a power slam neckbreaker combo thing that they do on Jackson to the win and get the 24 seed. Were you surprised by that one, Dave?
I was, but because they were brought in at the last moment, they have a little social following. They're maybe the flavor of the week. And I think they fit in well with the NWA style.
Yeah.
And the way they are actually a team, but they're a throwback to 80s NWA. So with this being Crockett Cup, having an actual outside tag team that people somewhat know, I thought it was good to give them a little rub. Plunkett and Jackson did well, but they're a new team. Same thing with Daisy Kill and Talos. They were a new team. Plus, Sal was injured. And he was limping the rest of the weekend when he was around. So I think for this, the right team won.
Right.
And I mean, if you're bringing an outside team in, get your money's worth out of them.
Yeah.
For sure. You like the Outrunners, Jeremy. You're a fan of I think the gimmick and the style.
Yeah. I'm familiar with them from OVW, and they're one of their top tag teams in OVW right now, and just so much fun to watch. Great chemistry together, good tag team maneuvers, just solid.
Yeah, and the chat likes him too. Yeah, I'm going to get back to that first comment from Fuzz, but he likes the Outrunners, kind of small, but instantly connecting gimmick from AEW. So there's that connection. And Mike points out, Money Mike, Medium Mike, that they're not only, as you say, Jeremy, they're on OVW as well as AEW. So it's a good fit for people who watch those promotions. As Fuzz says, so Rush not only got the dark match that nobody saw, but on night 2, and then visibly making fun of Rush on audio and public NWA shows. Like, it's one thing for Tyrus to bury him as an ongoing bit, I guess, on the Three Wise Men, but dang, man, like Rush cannot catch a break, and I almost feel like it's part of his gimmick now.
Yeah.
Is he destined to be the Mulkeys of the NWA Lightning One era?
No. Oh wow.
From their aftermatch promo, this is the not the Heat Seekers, the Outrunners. Hope to see more of them. And again, I was right. The Heat Seekers got effed again, losing and won't be seen till next year. I mean, I was disappointed as well, but I didn't take them past in past the first round. I didn't even take them in the first round. The Heat Seekers, it just seems to be par for the course right now for them for Crockett Cup appearances. But Willie says that the Outrunners remind me of Shane Douglas and Johnny Ace, the Dynamic Dunes. You tricked me on this, Willie. I will not speak the name of Shane Douglas anymore on this program. He's still dead to me. Dead to me. He knows what he did. We all know what he did. I will never forgive Shane Douglas. I don't care if everyone ever does. I will not. I will hold a grudge for the 10 pounds of gold. Where does Axton Ray could be going to the NWA too? He's friends with Kerry. I don't know Axton Ray. But awesome. And we get out of the FanFest dark matches by having Judias and Max the Impaler defeating one of my favorite tag teams in the National Wrestling Alliance, and a tag team that could have gone further and hopefully will go further in the NWA and will stick around. Hale Collins and Vic Delicious of the Now. Judias chokeslam Collins to win, and they advance to Max and Judias to fight Tyrus and Adonis. Was this a squash for Judias and Adonis, Dave?
I don't think so. I think it was a long enough match that it showed them actually working as a team. And I mean, both of these teams, Judias and Max are just getting started. The Now, I would love to see them being pushed and have them at more tapings.
Yeah.
Push them to go after the U.S. titles, the U.S. tag titles. They're an established team, and I think they've done their due diligence. They've, quote unquote, been the jobber team enough that they're an actual team. They have a name, they have a look. They're established out in the independent territory.
Mm-hmm.
Use that to your advantage. Bring them in 3-4 times a year at your bigger pay-per-views. Even if they're losing, you can build them up as a credible tag team that at any moment they can jump in and win those U.S. belts, whoever's holding them.
Yeah.
Right. You like the Now, Jeremy?
Absolutely. The Now are echoing everything that Dave said. They're established. They have a great following. They have the look, the cohesion together. They'd be a great addition to the NWA for sure.
Yeah, I am. And they had such an amazing story around Vic Delicious almost losing his leg a couple of times over the last year or two, and I think if he's telling it on Busted Open. That's a big audience, so maybe try to pick up some momentum with that and tell that story in the NWA, and I think you'll get even more love for this team out there who certainly deserve it. Go back to the chat very quickly. Fuzz says, I like the Now and the Outrunners because they're fast and they had team moves that made sense. Absolutely. And Willie says, NWA Pro Wrestling should always add indies tag team or singles wrestlers whenever they hold a pay-per-view event in their territory. Yeah, I think that's been pretty par for the course, right? Around the Lightning One era. Out at 312, we had Chicago guys, and Nuff said we had the Hawks Airy promotion. Help me out. The name of it was is
Wildcat.
Wildcat. Thank you. Right. So yeah, I enjoy the way that that turns out as well. And then we get into the pre-show. So generally, where I started watching the event, Flip Gordon and Fodder, who give it up, NWA, give up the deal to this man over here, the Flippin' Psychos they call themselves. As far as I know, Dave Scooby's the man who came up with that name, and
yep,
I'm sure that he'd say you guys could have it for free, but hey, credit where credit's due. You at least need an 8x10 with those guys, Dave. Some kind of photo or something. They defeated Dan Moff and Sean Donovan, sent to slaughter, who were Willie likes Flip Flop as well. That's also a good name. So sent to slaughter, really not introduced very much at all, actually, before the Crockett Cup. Although Sean Donovan recently with J. Cal in the sessions for an interview. This one kind of ended with a hot tag to Flip Gordon. Flip hit a flying drop kick. He knocked Moff out of the ring. And man, that guy is big. Just like he's just a fire hydrant. That guy, like he's just insane. He's still so big after all these years. Gordon landed a springboard moonsault to pin Donovan, and they end up going to take on the number 1 seed, La Rebellion. You watched the pre-show, Jeremy. You this for you and me. This was the starting match. What did you think?
First off, I want to start off by saying if my parents bestowed me with the name Merton Woolard,
you'd also be known
as Fodder. With that being said, this was a good match. Flip was Flip Gordon. He delivered on all sides. And Fodder actually
Merton Willard
didn't look too bad. Merton, guess got to be a family name, right? He was named. That has to be a family name, right? That's not
sure. Yeah, Grandpa was Merton the first.
Yeah, but
wow,
God, that's a horrible fucking name.
Michael Hinklebottom. I'm just saying.
That was pretty bad too.
It was pretty bad. It was a solid match. Flip was Flip, like you said, and I just started watching it and looking at those Matrix escapes, as they call them, and I know he's unique and different. Dave, I dig Flip Gordon, and I wish he were in the NWA more.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. I think he's still doing CYN stuff, and with EC3 there, I'm just hoping for the best. He's a phenomenal athlete. If you leave all his personal stuff outside the ring, he's just a great athlete. And in this first round matchup, it was speed over size, because Maff and Donovan had the size. They're just monsters in the ring, but Flip was just all over. He was all over. I think he was just too fast for them to track him down and get a pin. But unfortunately, Fodder was injured. And they worked well as a team, but Flip was the star of the team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really 100%. And, and Fodder looked okay. Like, it was just, when your tag team partner's Flip Gordon, I guess, it's hard to keep up even when you're on the same side. Fuzzit said, I think there's enough teams now, especially if they add the Now and the Outrunners regularly, and the Clowns, etc. They've really solid and continual challenges to both tag belts. I agree. the short history of the Lightning One era does not support this theory. However, like Crockett Cup was great last time around, and then the tag team seemed to go away.
Yeah.
And although Mr. Corgan had said recently loves tag team wrestling, that really hasn't been what's reported online. And a lot of people had suggested he likes breaking them up is what he enjoys most about him. But times change and tastes change, so maybe that's the case. Hey, Dayaloth is here. I missed things yesterday. Didn't see the stream. It's like for recap later. Women match a bit odd on the rules. Oh, right. Yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah, it was pretty decent though. Willie, what am I going to do with this, Willie? What am I going to do with this? Hilarious. Yes, we will let you dream. We will dream right along with you. I'm the guy who likes tag team wrestling more than I do singles wrestling. But that was the first match on just the pre-show. So let me try to roll a little bit quicker. Jack Steen and Blake Troop, the Savages, defeat TNT, Terrell and Terrence Hughes. This one, TNT had momentum. They called for a 3D to honor their dad, brother Devon. Manager distraction. Yeah, Chris Silvio distracted the referee to miss a legal tag. When the referee tried to escort one half of them, honestly don't remember which one, out of the ring. Dane ended up ducking a clothesline. Troop applied that kind of crazy figure four thing that he does for the victory. They get to go on, the Savages do, to wrestle the team number 4 seeded team from AAA, Mistiz and Octagon Jr., respectfully. No surprise, I guess, Dave, the Savages went through here. What did you think of TNT specifically?
TNT, they are a young team, but they work well together. Them being twin brothers, it's almost, there's almost like a second nature. If you know any twins, that these guys, when they were out with their dad signing autographs and stuff for the FanFest, they'd be talking and they'd finish each other's sentences. So yeah. It's more of a bond that they have. I thought it was cool. I mean, they actually work well together, but they're still a young team. They've only been wrestling for, I believe, 2, maybe 3 years. But because of the lineage of who their father is, if they take it slow and don't rush things, they have a future if they are able to find the right promotion that allows them to work the way they work. That I wouldn't mind seeing them pop up here and there. They've done AEW already when they did some dark stuff, some dark matches. But I'd like to see them used in the NWA down the line. That whether if Bully Ray is still available and being used in the NWA, he can almost be their mentor. My brother, your dad, come on, kids, come on, nephews, let's go. That there's a story to be told. They just need to figure out how they want to tell that story and where they want to tell it.
Well said. And, I think we all, Jeremy, were kind of hoping that Brother Devon would jump into the ring. Maybe Bully Ray would show up at some point and, even if they weren't going to get out of the first round, this team, and call for a table or something, or maybe do a was up off the top rope or something. But what did you think of the brothers Hughes and the match overall with the Savages?
I enjoyed the match overall. Like Dave said, the Hughes brothers, they were very cohesive and you could tell that they were brothers and twins on top of that. They seemed to know when one was ready to tag in and tag out and all of that. I'm glad that Devon or Bubba didn't come out. I feel that it would have took a little shine away from them. from the brothers and put the spotlight on Devon or Bubba instead. Maybe down the road, if they hang around, have them come out, but this was the right call to not have them come out in this match.
It's a great point.
Blake and Dane, there's something there between Dane, Troop, and Silvio down the line. Something's gonna happen there. I'm ready for it. I'm ready to see Troop and Dane go head to head with each other. And Troop needs to drop the bang bang ooh ah lights out. Just stick to the dropping warheads on foreheads. The other one, that's a shitty catchphrase.
It's funny because when you hear the catchphrase the first time, it was like, okay, yeah, I mean, that's fine. But then when he keeps banging that, particular catchphrase overhead, I'm like, buddy, like, stop trying to ram it down my throat.
Yeah, he said it. Silvio had him say it, and then 15 seconds later, he's doing it to the camera again. It's like, bro, stop.
Yeah,
you've
so many
oversold it now.
Yeah, he's got a lot to learn, and I'm I'm sure he knows that. You can certainly see it in the ring and the whole bit. Daloth is asking, who's that masked Scion guy? Aaron, the guy the other Scion, Aaron Stevens? No, it's not Aaron Stevens.
No.
Aaron has a very distinct upper body, and that's not him.
Yeah.
Who's the masked guy who will wrestle Jump Scion? Yeah, actually, I don't know, but I did think maybe it was Crimson, but I looked at Crimson. It's not Crimson. He's got tattoos, Crimson all down his side, and it's not him.
I'm pretty sure Crimson's probably persona non grata now in the wrestling industry.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm okay with that. What did you used to call? What did you used to call Crimson?
Crimweather, fucking vacuous black hole of charisma.
Oh my god! But we normally and consistently do not out the names of mass wrestlers and who they are. Yep. People will put it in the chat. That's groovy, and you can easily find usually that stuff online. We like that little bit of kayfabe that we don't want to shatter the illusions. And we then go on to the Brothers of Funstruction defeating the Fixers. I was like, what? As I'm sure many people were. The Fixers smashed the Clowns in this one before the bell. They dominated the entire match until Bradley seemed to tweak his knee in leaping over Ruffo. Wrecking Ball came in to some of the spots to lift Ruffo in a fireman's carry, and Yabo took flight to knock Legursky over. And on the crash, Ruffo was able to secure the crucifix pin with an upset win. And they're going to go on to wrestle a cut above Latimer and Titus. Jeremy, did you? I mean, what did you think? I know you're not a fan of the Clowns, but what did you think of the match overall?
Overall, like I said, I watched like this through a blinder. They didn't, like DKM said, they weren't great, but they weren't bad. They were a good, solid tag team. I was surprised that they beat the Fixers, but I was also happy that they beat the Fixers. I don't know. I can't explain why. The Fixers needed to be slowed down a little bit, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good way to do that.
Yeah, and Dave, the Fixers they couldn't get into the Crockett Cup. They lost, I think, 2 qualifying matches to try to get in. Then they got in on a we begged to get in kind of thing that didn't make much sense. So
Yeah.
They got in on that. Then they lose in the first round. Do the Fixers no longer rule? Is the time for them up?
I don't think the time for them is up. Bradley, I don't know if it was a pre-existing injury or if it was actually in the match, but he was hobbling earlier in the day. So it may have been the Clowns won because of injury, and storyline wise, it makes sense that the Fixers didn't win to get in to the Crockett Cup. They were just placed there. So it's one of these things they may have to start over again and build themselves back up. I'm not sure what they're planning on doing though.
Or like Jake House said, maybe it's time to break them up, have them do other things. Hey, Colby Corino's back. Maybe just pivot with them again and go forget the USA stuff that that they really embraced, and go back to being Colby Corino's big strong goons. I mean, that might work too. Mandy asked, do you think the Fixers pissed off Billy to lose to the Clowns? Maybe. They wouldn't give back his U.S. tag titles for a long time. Dayaloth had said, I think Tom Latimer's the other guy in the Adonis or in the mask. Willie seems to agree. I don't think it's either, but I mean, hey, I could be wrong. I don't think it's Adonis or Latimer to go back to that one. They both have pretty distinct physiques, and this guy seemed not like theirs. Fuzz says, I enjoy the Fixers being used just in solid matches. They're over in their own way. And with the Fixers, I love watching the Bushwhackers and didn't care about any stories. Yeah. I mean, Fuzz is what I hope to become again around the NWA, unabashed fan of what we're watching. And just like I love going into movies and not thinking about it so I can get the plot twist and just go, oh, I didn't see that coming. I don't want to think about it too hard. I'm so glad you just love watching that stuff, Fuzz, and just take it for what it is. We then get Toxin and a Rez defeating Elliot Russell and Matt Sigmund, the Heat Seekers. This one finished with how did it finish? A kind of a strange what do they call a Rez? The King of Strange style? Is that what it is? He executes. That's a cool name, by the way. He executes a bridging Northern Lights suplex for the victory. There was, they end up going on to face Ricky Morton and Kerry Morton in the next round. I'd pick them to win, although I love the Heat Seekers, but I don't know. Dave, what'd you think of this one?
It was a good, fast-moving match. The AAA team, I mean, they're just flying all over, and it wasn't really a problem, but if you watch the matches throughout the whole weekend, the refs were really on the tag team wrestlers holding on to the tag rope. Well, the AAA, if you've watched AAA, they'll walk back and forth, they'll pace, they're not always standing in the corner. But it's one of these things of maybe styles clashing, that you have two teams that are very good teams. They work well together. The Heat Seekers are more of the established team, whereas the AAA guys are just in the same promotion. They've wrestled with each other and against each other, so they know each other inside and out. But I'm glad that AAA had a few teams there and they were well represented. But I was hoping that the Heat Seekers would have been in another match with another team, so they could have gone over and at least advanced, being that they have so much history with the NWA. Granted, it's not the Lightning One NWA, But if you're going to push legacy and tradition, you have to go back before 5 years ago.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
I was just sad to not see the Heat Seekers move on, but the AAA team, they amazing wrestlers and very very nice. When I went to their table, talked with them a little, they spoke enough English that they understood what I was saying, and I understood their responses. So they were great guys.
That's awesome. You know, and we're all fans and hope we get to see more of them. But I mean, if last time around was any indication, it will be probably next year for the Crockett Cup till we see them again. But Jeremy, what'd you think of this? The AAA team taking on Heat Seekers.
I enjoyed it. I like the Heat Seekers, but like we said earlier, them going out in the first round just kind of in the new Crockett Cup Lightning One era just kind of seems to be the thing for them. And we got introduced to Toxin and Arez during the World as a Vampire. And I like both of them, but especially Arez. I like that guy's style and the way he delivers his moves and all that. So I'd like to see both of them back again, but especially Arez. If Arez can hang around, or like I said, both of them, if they can hang around, that'd be a fun addition to the tag teams.
Yeah,
in the
it
NWA.
would. Yeah. Let me just go to the comments real quick. Ooh, 7 already. Let me see. Yeah. Back to Dayloth. I can't have air quality issues in New York from is it a Canada thing? Listen, it's a global warming thing. Canada is not the driver about from that particular air quality issue. But yes, we do have forest fires out in Quebec right now and on the West Coast, and the air sucks here too. So sorry if you can't breathe, it's all Canada's fault.
Sorry, eh?
Yeah, sorry, eh? I do say a lot. That is a thing. And Dayloth says, I remember back in the day, NWA Clash of Champions had Jack Victory. Our guys wrestled 2 or 3 times to appear in the event in mass or characters. Yeah, Jack Victory, Russian Assassin, number 2.
Victory.
Yeah, man. I don't think he's on Twitter anymore, but Jack Victory had like 12 friends on Twitter, and I was one of them.
Oh, wow.
I don't see him anymore out there. I know Steve Corino loves him to death. So, Fuzz saying, I love both sides of the business, Smart and Mark, which is why I love what you guys and Jay do. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Hardly any legit tags by AAA guys. Almost understandable, I guess, given the Lucha Libre style, but credit to more in night 1 than in night 2 for watching at home. Credit to the refs, Kevin Keenan, Jaron Fritz, forget the other guy's name, I'm so sorry, for the NWA enforcing the tag rule, the tag rope rule. You didn't see that before the Crockett Cup in the NWA, so I can't remember the guy's name. He was a big fan of Evil Knievel, who was one of them. I just remember Adonis had a taped interview with a mask guy up here. Don't know, man. The forest fires. Yeah, I can't see. It's not my fault I didn't set any of them. Blame Canada. Blame Canada. We're gonna bomb the Baldwins. Oh, did I let the keg? What do we got next? We got Kratos and Kratodenson battling Magic Jake and Brian Brock, thrown together tag team versus what they eventually end up calling themselves the Immortals. Kratos sets up for the I think it's the Kratos to the grave on Brock. Magic Jake entered for the save. Odinson kind of tackled him with that pounce into next Thursday. I don't think he landed till then. the whole crowd just kind of went, "Oh my God, Dave!" He really looked like he smoked him. And Kratos is free and clear for that full Nelson DDT thing he does. The Immortals advance to wrestle AJ Kazana and Anthony Andrews. Dave, that shot that Magic Jake took, did you hear it where you were sitting?
Yeah, it was a thing of beauty. Kratos and Odinson as a team work really well. They at one time they were pushing Odinson, and all he had was his uppercuts. When done as a tag team, it's not as noticeable because he's in the ring half the time.
Yep.
But I mean, they can go for either the US or the world belts. Mm-hmm. That, I mean, they are a tag team that I would keep together because they complement each other. They work well together. Plus, it gives them something to do. You're not having to have individual single wrestling matches that really don't amount to anything.
Right.
That, I mean, I'd push them for the US belts and then push them up to the world tag team titles. Just because, I mean, they, like I said, they work well together and they're just a monster team.
Right. What'd you think, Jeremy?
To bounce off of Dave's comment about them complimenting each other, well, I really dug the Kyle's interview after the fact where Kratos did exactly that and complimented Odinson. Was like, "It's a sexy motherfucker right there too." So, you are a force to be reckoned and set the tone. Do not split them up under any certain terms. Let Odinson get back into a tag team with a certified veteran of the business that can help guide him along and help build him towards a future singles career that the kid's destined for. Right. He is a star in the making, but he is still super rough around the edges. And Kratos is somebody that can definitely work him into shape and polish out those edges and smooth them out.
And Kratos on the mic, Fuzz is saying, was such fire. Let him do the talking, right?
Yep.
Odie's voice on the mic isn't super. I'm not into it. I love that he just kind of goes around the ring and, makes faces and does his poses or whatever. It actually, I love that stuff too, man. That what you mentioned about just complimenting the other guy.
Yeah.
There's a 30-second video on Twitter somewhere of Magic Jake, whether you like him or not, and Brian Brock, who nobody knows, where it's just 45 seconds of fire from Magic Jake, where he says, "Billy, all you did by putting us together into this mess was mix gun smoke and snake oil." And I went, "Oh, I like this team more," It was and for him to go this is the baddest cowboy from the Colorado, Rockies. And, I love it when there is that interaction. It makes it so much more interesting for me. What are we going to say here? Yeah. Jack Victor used to date Missy Hyatt. Well, Missy Hyatt, if you've ever read her book, she'll tell you she used to date everybody. So, and obviously Hot Stuff International with Eddie Gilbert for quite a while.
I took Missy Hyatt out for a date once.
Did you?
No.
I mean,
but I could have.
You probably could have. You might have. You just. I heard her once call herself the villain. I'm not going to say that joke, even though she said it herself. Oh, good. Let's have a little bit of class here.
Yeah, I just went with I could have took her out.
I mean, yeah. She was
claimed, no.
She claimed to have dated Jim Kelly, if I remember that one correctly, from the Bills, and had some things to say. And she said a lot of things over the years. Anyway, she's I'm sure she appreciates Sonny is around so that she has someone to just kind of, go, oh, that's a train wreck.
That been there, done him. I mean that.
She was Willie's prom dates. Oh man, first lady of wrestling right there. Yeah, lots of stuff. I remember an Odie interview where I saw him with Mace.
Yeah.
Stood to the side. He wasn't good. You could tell he wasn't into it. He needs work. Like, and as Jeremy says, he's young. He's been wrestling for a while, but he needs that mic time. And I'm sure
he's been a tag team guy the entire time for the most part. So
at the end with Pero, yeah.
Yeah.
And to get out of the dark matches, the pre-show, not the dark matches, the last match before the pay-per-view started was the Outrunners defeating Scion and Jordan Clearwater at another upset. They used some savvy teamwork to isolate Clearwater for this one. He was close to tagging out, and this is when a mysterious masked man pulled Scion off the apron. So the Outrunners kind of finished the job on Clearwater with that power slam neckbreaker combo. And after the match, the intruder just pummeled Scion mercilessly, and Austin Idol just kind of stood idly by, if you'll excuse the pun, while his son was getting totally smoked, and then he just kind of walked away as Scion was writhing in pain on the floor. The Outrunners advanced to face blunt force trauma. Jeremy, what did you think, buddy, when this happened?
I was a little taken aback. I was expecting something to happen. We've been talking about, expecting something to pop off between Scion and Idol. I wasn't expecting it to happen in the first round, us first seeing them.
Yeah.
So I was taken aback by that. I'm curious to see where this story goes and how they play it out now that they've got the ball rolling on it. And at the end of the day, I wasn't upset that the Outrunners, got a little nudge forward.
Yeah. Me neither. You got to have these upsets, Dave, in the Crockett Cup. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it's just going to be, well, we all got perfect in our brackets, and what we thought was going to happen, and that ain't pro wrestling. What did you think of this particular upset?
Well, I mean, like you said, there has to be a little. I'm not really sure how to phrase it, but there has to. It can't be as expected for every match. That there has to be a bump in the road for some of these teams because there's stories being told.
Yep.
Now, Scion being attacked by another masked man and Idol just walking away, not really paying attention or helping Scion, it's part of a story. That's the reason that tag team lost the match. Right. Because of outside interference. I mean, same thing with like the Clowns winning. They won because of miscommunication, and there was a roll up here or a missed move here. There was an injury. It all goes back to that if something didn't happen in these matches, the other team would have won. But there's a reason that certain teams are moving on and other teams aren't, because they're looking, hopefully, in the long run, there's enough story to be told. Was just the beginning of the story. And I mean, I saw it happen, and I'm like, what the hell's happening? Who is this guy? It shook me, and I was like looking, and I'm like, okay, he's dressed. I have no clue who this guy is. And later on, when he ended up having another match, I'm like, okay, he comes out ready to wrestle. I look at him and no clue.
Right.
He's nobody that I think I've seen. And this is one of those things of, at this time, I really don't want to know who it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, good for you.
I want them to tell the story. And the guy next to me in my row, he's like, well, how many masked guys are they going to have? I go, well, it's just part of a story. I go, who knows? It's probably his step-half twin brother. And the guy's like, huh? So I explained to him, I said, well, I go, it's just, unless it's an actual brother, they'll say they're brothers just to put them either together or have them fight each other. Right. It's all part of a story. And I said, it's one of these things that hopefully by 75, we'll have some idea of at least a name for this person and not the masked mystery man number 7. So who knows? I mean, I'm glad it's going to be a continuing story that they're going to hopefully do, and hope off everybody. And there'll be a good story told, something that makes sense. Hopefully,
Yeah, I wouldn't be too upset if how can I say this in our style of kayfabe? I wouldn't be too upset if one of the masked men went away and then another, maybe a fantastical masked guy, were to appear. That would be okay. Or maybe if the gentleman underneath the mask that I'm talking about decides to, this is, who I am, or it's revealed, you're not my son from Austin Idol, that'd be fine too. Yeah. I just don't want to get into this this thing, Jeremy. What was the question mark 1 and 2, and boy, what a mess that was way back in the day. But what did you think of the match? And were you shocked? Because I was.
Yeah, I was shocked. Again, I don't, like you said, I don't want this to turn into question mark 1, 2, 4, 5. I don't want that at all. I do hope that they are able to avoid the pitfalls of that. And while I want to see this play out, I do hope it's wrapped up fairly quickly so it doesn't have the opportunity to fall into some of the past storyline pitfalls that we've seen with the NWA.
Yeah, it's for sure. Delos kind of echoes this. The other masked scion is the brother that Austin Idol actually likes, or his real son. The Reluchador says it's a Dr. Evil Austin Power storyline. Austin Idol is in the middle because Daddy wasn't there. I love that song, man.
Such a good song.
Change my underwear. And our friend Dodie kind of points out what I was trying to say, but poorly. I see that Robert Anthony somehow shows himself in the Crockett Cup backstage. That somehow that jabroni still yet to show his face in the ring. He does a lot of stuff around the Chicago area. Mike says they did an excellent job hiding the identity as far as the facial features. Only people who know who it is will recognize the tattoos where he has wrestled. Yeah, I didn't recognize him. So there you go. There was one I saw on the arm. Didn't there you go. Perhaps Dodie says this mysterious masked man who attacked Scion is actually Robert Anthony in a mask. Could he be? I love you, Dodie. You're hilarious. I dig it.
The multiverse has entered the NWA.
That's right. So we are into the pay-per-view. Wow, 7:21. Let's go a bit quicker. Blunt Force Trauma defeat the Outrunners. I thought this was good, Dave, because the Outrunners just finished a match. Yeah. Pay-per-view starts, they go right back in. It's like, well, they're just too tired. They're not gonna get past Blunt Force Trauma. Damage ended up grabbing Turbo by the foot when he was sizing up Carnage for a lariat. And BFT finished off Turbo with that double team flatliner. What'd you think of this one?
I did like the story being told of they were coming out of the pre-show and they had maybe 7 to 10 minutes before they hit the ring again. So they were going against a bigger size team. Plus, they had just been through a 10 to 12-minute match previously. So it told the story, and Blunt Force Trauma ended up moving on.
Jeremy, any surprise? You going to have any surprise as the show goes on that Blunt Force Trauma does so well?
No, not really. I wasn't surprised that BFT did as well as they did.
Yeah, I had him going to the semis myself. I'll run a little quicker, guys, if that's okay, because we all got lives to leave. But they can play off the name Scion, which means one of lineage. I actually thought it was like Wild Dog or something, but anyway. So Dark Scion, just saying that can be the opposite of lineage. Okay. Lots of love for Doty in his comment there in the chat. Craig Todenson defeat your U.S. Tag Team Champions, the Country Gentlemen, in their first appearance. They were number 7 seeded overall. A lot of Haas smashing around in this one. Odinson was really the game changer in this one. He ended up taking out Gazana with another huge shoulder tackle. He tagged in Kratos for that Kratos to the grave DDT thingy that he does to pin Andrews. The U.S. Tag Team Champions are eliminated. We'll learn in night 2 from the Alliance guys tomorrow night what the U.S. Tag Champs kind of, how they're made to look stronger. But boy, surprised guys. I was surprised, Dave. I didn't have Kratos and Odinson getting past the Country Gentlemen.
It was one of these things of you already have a tag team that's established, that if the NWA is building up a tag team, give them a win. It's really no harm, no foul in that the tag titles weren't on the line. This is going for the Crockett Cup. And like you said, tomorrow they'll be discussing day 2 and what happened with the U.S. tag titles and the champions. To me, it was another, like I said, no harm, no foul. The champions didn't win, but the titles weren't on the line. Plus, the NWA is actually trying to build up another tag team.
Yeah.
Which in my eyes is good.
Yeah, I agree. Jeremy, you have a big hate on for Fight, and I certainly understand it. A lot of people do. So you were like, forget this pay-per-view. But were you surprised to learn that the Country Gentlemen didn't go through, or did you figure they'd go down at the hands of Kratos and Odinson?
Looking at my bracket, if I remember right, I do believe I had Kratos and Odinson losing in this. Because I did see the Country Gentlemen going further.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I had the Country Gentlemen going over in this. The fact that they didn't, though, I wasn't surprised after seeing how well that Kratos and Odinson gelled together in the pre-show. You know,
That's right. Yeah.
they did really good together, and after seeing that, I sat there and I was like, man, they're probably going to go over.
Yeah.
But I was still surprised to learn that they did, though. So yeah, I was surprised.
I was exactly the same way. Like, oh, should I change my brackets? No, I'm going to stick with my brackets, but I think they're going over. So yeah, listen, the next match that came up, guys, was one of my favorite matches in night 1. Maybe my favorite match, just from a storytelling perspective, was Joe Alonzo defeating Alex Taylor for the right to earn an entrance into the junior heavyweight scramble on night 2. And so Taylor's got that shoulder injury that he had from Australia. He's got the kinetic tape on it. And, they made that part of the storyline. Taylor was on fire early, but Jamie Stanley came out. Nice to see Jamie Stanley. I really like to see him when he's around. Glad he's kind of back in the picture. He illegally intervened a couple times to slam Taylor's shoulder into the ring post. Later, he hooked Taylor's foot during some of the in-ring activity. Really helped Alonzo take control. And Alonzo ended up connecting with a super kick and that rolling cutter that he does. Taylor kicks out after just taking so much damage to the arm all match long at 2.999 seconds. It was a great. Oh, did he get it? They actually, at that moment, I don't know if this was intentional or unintentional, but Alonzo's music started playing as he stood up. And then it cut, and it was like, no, 2-2. And like what a great effect, intentional or otherwise. Like someone in the back thought he had it. Like that was awesome. But so anyway, Alonzo just drops down and finishes him with that armbar submission. Taylor taps out. You're right there, ringside, Dave. What did you think of the match?
Overall, I mean, it was a very good match. Alonzo, he has major heat, and he works the crowd to fuel the fire.
Yeah.
Taylor, being that he had suffered an injury and was taped up, that's his excuse for not winning.
Right.
Down the line, I mean, either of these guys would be great as a junior heavyweight champion. And I do like that they're building up some rivalries and some more competition for Kerry down the line. But overall, it was a very good match. Alonzo, if they do right with him, I mean, his future is very, very bright.
It is. I enjoy these two. What about you, Jeremy? What do you think of I guess inevitably it doesn't matter because we know who wins the scramble on night 2, but Alonzo and Taylor just as a combo. Whew.
Yeah.
Fire in the ring.
Great match. Two great young talents in the NWA. Like Dave said, either one could easily be slid in as the new champion, and no one would bat an eye or snub their nose at it. And also to echo Dave, with Taylor having the shoulder injury, that was the perfect out for him. He in loss, he doesn't look weak in that because they had a barn burner of a match.
Yeah, it's true. And actually, they just showed that on Power, didn't they? I'd forgotten that for this past week. Dale said, I can see Taylor win title over Gibson, but they signed Alonzo, so they are going to push him eventually, I think. Gibson.
Morton.
Robert Gibson? I don't know. I'll leave you to explain that one. That's cool. Crockett Cup second round again for the pay-per-view. All right, Ricky Morton. Maybe this is the moment of the night. Ricky Morton, Kerry Morton, defeat Toxin and Arez. Kerry did most of the work, as you would expect for his team. Got increasingly cocky as the match wore on. He hits his knee strike finisher, kiss it goodbye on Arez. Doesn't go for the cover. Instead, he goes outside, and they're like, what are you doing? And he says, the champ will do whatever the champ wants to do. And he grabs his junior world heavyweight title belt with the intent to smash Arez with it. And Ricky snatches it, to keep it fair, and the match progresses, and Kerry hits that knee strike finisher again. Again, doesn't go for the pin. He grabs the belt. Ricky takes it away again. And as the referee tries to restore order with his back turned, Richard Morton blasts Arez in the face with the World Junior title. Heel turn, so to speak. Kerry makes a cover for the win. Ricky explained something about how he paved the way in wrestling only to be spit on, and to hell with that. Wow, Dave, you're there. Ricky Morton it's been a long time since he's been a heel. He even goes by the babyface Ricky Morton on Instagram.
Yep.
What was your reaction? What was the crowd reaction?
The crowd, the guys I was around, they were just, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. Ricky has been the perennial baby face, except for back when it was the York Foundation. But people just overlook that Ricky can almost do no wrong. Now, the next day I was at FanFest, and there were some people that were very upset, some older ladies that had followed the Rock and Roll Express, and they were just like, I can't believe you did that. And their family had to explain to them that it was just part of a storyline, that Ricky really isn't a bad guy. He just plays one when he's in the ring now. I was sure that Kerry was just going to take the belt and just walk away and leave his dad. Well, we got flipped on that. And I talked to Ricky the next day, and I'm like, congratulations. I said, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
I said, so is it a heel?
Oh, that was great. Yeah, that little bit where Kerry looks at the camera, he's so cocky, and he's like, even I didn't see that one coming.
Yep.
Wow.
But Ricky was like, he goes, I didn't do a heel turn. I just made a pivot.
Yeah, that's so good.
And I'm like,
Yep.
It's one of those that it's almost like beauty's in the eye of the beholder, that you see what you want to see.
Right.
And I'm like, it's great. And nothing against Ricky Morton. He is getting up there in age. He could still go in the ring, but I'd only keep him for high profile matches, maybe once or twice a year. But have him manage his son. That they're now on the same page. They're reading the same book. They know what's going on. They understand each other.
Yeah.
Kerry can talk, but hearing Ricky talk and push his son, I think would build him up even more. At least in my opinion.
I agree. As Dodie said there, Jeremy, Ricky didn't turn heel, just followed his instinct. That's what he said. Shocked to learn about the one half of the Rock and Roll Express going pivoting heel, shall we say?
Yes and no. With Kerry pulling his I'm champion, I'll do what champion wants to do. That's all well and good and thought, but in the actual execution, Ricky was just showing him you can't do it. You have to pick your right moment to do these things. You can't do it with the whole world watching. The ref standing here seeing you want to do this. You can't do that. Oh, guess what? The ref's not looking at me. I'll crack him. That's the right time to do something like that. It was perfect. If I was going to sit down and book that, that's how I would have booked it. No, you can't do that, son. No, you can't do that, son. No, you can't do that, son. This is how you do it.
That's right. And to both of your points, the way you do it is using Ricky's strengths, and Ricky's strengths on the mic and the timing and the psychology. And it reminded me, I don't want to overstate because this is, so recent and I'm sure when you're there, it's even more impactful than it is when it's just recently watching it on TV. But it's like when Hogan made the turn, to some of us older guys, because Ricky's always been a baby face, except for the York Foundation for a very brief period of time when Robert Gibson was injured.
Very small period of time.
And it was like when Orndorff short arm clothesline Hogan. Like it was like, oh my God. I loved being swerved, and I
Yep.
thought it was great. This was funny. Other than Stan Lane, who isn't the father, yeah, if you've heard that story, Stan's been sued for a very long time by someone who claimed that he was the father of her child. There was finally, after all these years, a paternity test, and it ain't him. So yeah, I'm sure that Cornette will talk about that. I was going to put my Sweet Stan. I have Harley back here today. I got a Sweet Stan one here with his U.S. tag title, but I ripped his arm off accidentally. I got to fix him.
Oh!
Yeah, I got Bobby. I got Bobby too. There, even like the NWA tag. Anyway, playing with my action figures. I have 20. I want to say 25 NWA World Champion action figures, and I don't know why. They just sit in a box here. And anyway, that is a dark look into my life that nobody needed to know about. But moving on, the Brothers of Funstruction defeat in another upset, Tom Latimer and Rhett Titus, a cut above. They kind of dominated the Clowns, by my opinion, but like Latimer hit a moonsault onto both of them. Titus was running wild. It was a good move for sure. Titus executed this hammerlock spinning slam to Yabo. Anytime you can see Rhett Titus doing anything in the ring, it's just worth it. And when Titus picked up Ruffo for a body slam, Yabo rolled under to trip Titus and landed on top of him for the pin. There was a whole bunch of shit in the middle with red noses and juggling and everyone standing around. And I thought, you've got four talented guys, two of them who frankly are a cut above, most of the other people in the NWA, Dave. And I didn't care for the match. I didn't care for the slapstick finish. I'll just roll this part into it here. Camille comes to the ring afterwards and says, Tom, don't even worry about this. You shouldn't be a tag team, anyway. Go and get your lucky 7 win and get your shot and, get the world's title off of Tyrus. And she basically also just laid into Tyrus saying, everybody knows who the face of the NWA is, who the main event of the NWA is, the person who goes out and actually defends their title. And then, talks about Markova, how she's, she underestimated her and she's going to do that. But for this particular match, Dave, what did you think?
Well, it's another thing that it's telling a story. I don't think the right team won, but due to the situation, it rolls into Camille coming out and developing more of the story out of what just happened. Right. That, in my opinion, Tom does deserve better. Nothing against him teaming with Titus at all. But I thought it was strange that you have your TV champion in a tag match. That it tells a story that this is, I think, the start of his rise to either the national or hopefully the 10 pounds of gold. That he can win 7 of these matches and go after whoever holds the world championship.
I figure it's EC3, taking the title, and then Tom coming to take it from EC3.
The mind games that they were playing.
Yeah. He ends up beating Tom twice so far, and after both nights. But there you go. Hey, Jeremy, is Camille even remotely wrong when she says, essentially, Tyrus sucks. He doesn't defend his title. He's not the champ. I'm the champ.
Camille is light years away from being wrong.
Right.
She hit the nail so hard on the head that it created a thermite weld and it just everything she said was spot on. She is the face of the NWA. She is the workhorse champion.
Yep.
I see where I think it's John Ceramic puts. I just realized is that Camille with all this heat on Tyrus in real life? Could be.
Could
Some
be.
of the best wrestling storylines revolve around real life. So,
I mean,
how screwed up with it would it be if Camille took the title off of Tyrus?
I was going to say, well, wait a minute, but then I immediately thought about Tessa Blanchard. So, you know, and there's mixed matches already starting in the NWA. So you might be onto something there, buddy.
Would you be upset if she took it off Tyrus?
Yes, but not because she took it off Tyrus. Because what matters to me is the lineage of the 10 pounds of gold. And, you know, with Nick Aldis, when he was leaving, said something about, I think Harley would roll over in his grave if he saw, you know, this guy as champ. I think he might claw his way out if there was, you know, a woman as the world's heavyweight champion. And God, now I feel like I have to defend what it is I'm saying. It's my own fault. But look, you know, there's the thing we've talked about for a couple of weeks where there is some amazing women athletes in every sport. But, you know, like where does Serena Williams rank, as they say, against any men's professional level in tennis? She doesn't. It's a different section of the sport. Camille deserves every accolade she gets, and how she has grown, and you know how she has anchored the NWA. I do not want to see her as world's heavyweight champion. She doesn't need that. The NWA, I don't think, needs it either. I don't think they bring the right type of heat, so to speak. The chat has come alive at this, but I'm going to keep going. Maybe you can navigate that one for me. Where did we go from there? Mistas and Junior and Octagon Junior defeat the Savages. I had them going down to the Savages. They were too much to handle early on. But the AAA team turned the tide with a lot of flipping and flying. He hit Mistiz hit a corkscrew crossbody on Troop. There was a neat split-legged moonsault on Troop by Octagon. Dame ends up making the save. Mistiz's drop kicks Dame out of the ring. Troop applies a figure four onto Octagon. So Mistiz made the save with a springboard 450 splash. He cruised in for a suicide dive onto Dane and Chris Silvio, while Octagon pinned Troop to win. Is this an upset, Dave? Did you think it was a good match, and is it an upset?
In my eyes, it is somewhat of an upset, but it's, like I've said before, it's a clash of styles. You have your big guys going against your lucha libre wrestlers, which more or less are your smaller guys that can move quickly. It was a different style of wrestling. I do like that the AAA team did move on. The Savages are a good team, and they just need to work out their little communication problems and work together more as a team.
Right. Yeah, it might be. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's time for the Savages to be over. I don't think so, but I've heard some kind of people scratching their heads going, I mean, you know, is it not working? I guess we'll see. But Fuzz says, I meant with all of Camille's history and Latimer's history with Aldis, and maybe they were just burying tires because they don't like him either. I mean, they stayed. right? It wasn't like they walked out when Aldis said that'll be it for me. They didn't ask, as far as we know, to leave their contracts, and they both got titles, and they've been booked fairly well. You got to think Chris Adonis is part of that friend group as well, and he's still around and doing pretty well. So I don't know. I mean, who knows? It's obviously speculation. I know nothing. Dodie says, I like how Blake Troop doing more simpler Buddy Rogers style, the figure 4 than Flair style. It's kind of cool. It is pretty neat for sure. The way that he does it. I think Camille is talking to set up the Tom Latimer match against Tyrus, not herself. Yeah, I would agree. Let's continue to move on. The first appearance. No, that is not it. Well, it is the first appearance, but it's Hardcore Timor. I'm going to skip kind of past the details of this one, but Samantha Starr, Ruthie J, Missa Kate, Maddie, they defeat Pretty Empowered. This one ends when, it's Hardcore Team, so people get tossed over the top rope. They get pinned or they submit. It ends with Ella and Samantha Starr at the end. Ella gets a pink pair of brass knuckles. Nice touch. She's, and Baby Doll, who was at ringside, stop, kind of says, don't use that on her, even though it's hardcore. She can do whatever she wants. She ends up a moment later, Samantha Starr wrapping a chain that had been brought to the ring around her fist as Baby Doll slips the coal miner's glove over her hand, turns around and knocks out Ella Envy and pins her to win. This thing meant nothing overall, and I think everyone thought this was the throwaway. No one will care about Jeremy. I think it was just like, but it actually was pretty good, and I thought that it was better than it was going to be. When you heard about this, did you care?
No, I did actually, because Samantha Starr's someone that you could kind of say is an NWA homegrown, and for her and Missa and Maddie to go over on Kinsey and Kylie and Ella and Roxy, Pretty Empowered, that's a big win.
Right.
Pretty Empowered pretty much ruled the women's division for a good little period of time. So for her to come in and them get this win, that's a big thing.
It is.
Yeah.
Dave, when you were there, I'm sure, I could be wrong, but I'm almost positive people will go, all right, bathroom break match for me right now, and maybe thought I don't care so much about this one, but I thought it was pretty good. What did you and the rest of the crowd think?
At least the guys around me, they were very surprised and excited about them doing a hardcore match. I had to explain to a couple of the guys how the Team War rules are, that it's one, and whoever loses, that they end up having to go to the back, and then they're replaced by another team member. But I mean, overall, I'd give it maybe a 6.5 or a 7 out of 10. These girls work their ass off.
Right.
And when you look at who was all involved, I think probably Kinsey and Ella are the most experienced of all the girls. That there's maybe 5 or 6 years experience of the most experienced. So it may go back to right before Billy took over the NWA. That the late teens that they just started, that you have quite a few. They're not rookies. They're just not veterans. They're getting their feet wet and they're learning. You have some girls that are more experienced than others, but they all worked really well together. And I liked the hardcore aspect, being that it wasn't just a cat fight. because I'm like, okay, she's wrapping something around, and that was happening on the other side. I was by the entryway, so I'm looking across the ring, and I'm like, what the hell? Well, then when I watched it again and was able to watch it on TV, I'm like, yeah, back to Crockett Promotions in the 70s and 80s with the coal miner's glove, and do the coal miner's glove on a pole match and stuff like that. That unless you know about a coal miner's glove match, that's history, that's legacy, that's old school NWA being brought to 2023 NWA.
Right. Yeah, well said. Lou says, our friend Lou's in the house. Homegrown doesn't always mean low quality. I enjoyed the match. That was pretty good. Dayloth had asked, do we know anything about Ruthie J? What I know about Ruthie J is I think she's about 23. She's been wrestling for 2 years.
Yep.
Trained by Gangrel. She was in like independents like Coastal and I think Ignite. So she's very young and she's very, very talented. And I really look forward to more of her in the days to come. Fuzz says, I love the formats where each wrestler is 1-to-1 in these team matches. Same with the way the Night 2 tag opener was. I could live without Team War, ever seeing Team War again. I don't hate it. I think hardcore is garbage. Just generally as a rule, if I wanted hardcore, I'd go watch some CZW matches from way back in the day, or go see some GCW. I don't care for it. So mixing the two together doesn't have much for me. So I didn't feel like they had a lot to work with no storyline, and they did a great job. You know, they made me go, nice work by the end of it. I'm going to totally skip this one, guys. Mike Knox and Trevor Murdoch make their entrance. Magnum Muscle puts up a fight in the first match of Knox and Murdoch in this thing, but this Wrecking Crew combination, as they've been called, of Knox and Murdoch, they will prove to be too tough all night long, all weekend long, and end up winning with that high-low combo. It was pretty much just let's get rid of Magnum Muscle and show, how the team everybody wants to see right now. So let me kind of skip, if I may, just in the interest of time, for Chris Adonis and Tyrus defeating Judas and Max the Impaler. So for me, guys, Max was the highlight of this match. It was the growl that Tyrus, I was disappointed that he wanted no part of Max and immediately tagged out. But Max was clubbing Adonis, to what Jeremy was saying earlier, really putting in the work, and they had tons of quick tags, Judas and Max, all match long. There was after a hot tag, Tyrus did get in and he steamrolled them both. He kissed Max, which I hope was worked out beforehand. Otherwise, I don't know. I'll think on those thoughts, but I was not a fan of that particular endeavor. When Tyrus goes to pin Judas, Max entered for the save. The referee tried to restore order. Max, just lost their cool and shoved him, and he ruled a DQ victory for the Midnight Riders. Dave, you're at ringside. You're watching this one. I was super excited for this match. Didn't get what I wanted out of it. Seemed like a cheap out for me, but for Max and Judas. But maybe what else were you going to do? What did you think?
Overall, I mean, I wasn't expecting much out of Tyrus. I was very surprised by Adonis taking all the hits.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that Chris was willing to do what was needed to make the match an actual match. I don't like that it was a DQ finish, but it was a way to give them a win without actually having to pin the other team. So Judias and Max still look strong. And I don't know. I haven't watched the match back, but it's little things like, oh, okay, it's Tyrus and Adonis. No, we're the Midnight Riders. Well, why? You're not wearing masks. You haven't given a real explanation as to what's up with the name. If
They
it's
love
just,
Dusty Rhodes, as far as I understand it.
yeah, I mean, if it's a tribute to Dusty Rhodes, that's cool, but why not have a little thing on the last episode of Power before to explain? If
I
you're
agree.
going to highlight these teams and they actually have a name and it's not just Wrestler A and Wrestler B, give me an explanation of who these people are. Why you have this name?
Yeah, I agree. That 100% would have been better. I did like. Oh, I'm gonna.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, it got choppy. I did like the little bit. You're 100% right. Tell us why you're the Midnight Riders. But I did like the bit Tyrus did in the ring where he went in, the bionic elbow thrust, the hip thrust like Dusty would do. That was fun. It was a nice little nod to his mentor. But I don't know, man. I like to give the little bits I can to Tyrus when I think he's done something cool. Jeremy disagrees. That's cool. Talk to me, Jeremy.
If you really wanted to honor him, you wouldn't have went out there. At that damn age, Dusty Rhodes could still fucking wrestle, bro. At that age, Dusty could still go in the ring.
Yeah.
If you really wanted to honor him, you wouldn't have went out there. You wouldn't have inserted yourself in the Crockett Cup. You definitely wouldn't have went as the Midnight Riders. I definitely don't think of you. I would love to see the horse that your ass rode in on. That poor horse.
It ain't going to carry him out, is what you're saying.
Sure should. Nope.
It's a one-way trip. I do not. If you think about that same kind of idea, traditionally we've talked about it. The world champion defends his title one-on-one in between. Once the semis are set, and you're going to go right to the finals, right? Yep. Champ does his thing, and then the finals happen at the end of the Crockett Cup. He has to rely on Chris Adonis to work all weekend long because the champ's going to go far. They're not going to let Adonis and Tyrus get beat in the first match. Unless there's a storyline between the two of them that are happening.
And this just cements what Camille said beforehand. Right. She's the workhorse champion.
Right. If I suck, I can't go, which is the fact. I am too old to go. But you're the young guy of this group. So you have to carry my ass all weekend long, and we're gonna have 1, 2, 3 matches before this is over. Is it 3? Yeah, it's 3.
It's a good thing I'm getting paid then.
Yeah, I hope you're getting paid more than I am.
Yeah, I hope that I'm in that aspect. I would hope that I'm getting a little bump in pay. I'm not expecting to get championship pay, but a bump.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I don't know. It was, I recently saw Ric Flair talking about he didn't do tag team matches, not because he was too good for tag team matches. It just didn't feel like he was good at it, and how he would have to tag in a match to fill in because Arn wasn't available or whatever, right? And It would be him and Tully or him and Luger, and it just felt weird and looked weird, and he didn't know what he was doing. And it's not that Tyrus doesn't know what he's doing in the ring. Sure he does, but he can't physically do it anymore. Let's call the experiment today and let's move on with our lives. Anyway, you're getting me all riled up now. Dayaloth liked FMW with Hayabusa. Oh, poor Hayabusa and Mike Awesome. Both phenomenal athletes in different ways. You like Mike Awesome? Was a big.
Oh, I'm a huge Mike Awesome guy.
Yeah,
Mike Awesome was a bad mofo.
he sure was. Yeah, just back to that hardcore Team War thing from Fuzz. Yeah, man, I don't need that stuff. Yeah, I saw many. Taylor says in chat, celebrate the Tyrus Kiss Max, and I'm like, I don't think it helps NWA having the champ in this match either. Fuzz hated that kiss part. It was a rude nod to Max's status and demeaned them as a fierce competitor. Again, I hope it was planned beforehand. And
I didn't care for. I don't care for it when Angelina and Fodder do it, and whenever Flip and Fodder's first match, and she gave Fodder the little psycho love, and then Flip was like, I didn't care for that either. That's another dude's old lady, man. You don't do that.
Yeah.
You know, there's a sense of professionalism too, and I like, look, we all know what this is. We all know it's a athletic performance art,
Right.
whatever you want to call it. It's all good, but you don't see you don't see Tom Latimer and Camille doing this stuff, and God damn it, they're married. You know, they're both just champs and they're pros, and I don't know. I just thought it was stupid. I thought Tyrus taking the knee as the out to do any wrestling was lame. Yeah, that happened a bit later. It certainly was, though. Oh, I hurt myself. I can't do this anymore. Come on. Willie's comment, Max is going to need a tetanus shot after card. You know?
It wasn't Dirty Diana Taylor.
That's true. It's odd when Tyrus wrestles Adonis and they team together. I don't really get it. Yeah, I think it's a mutual respect thing. If Tyrus was a champ on day 2 event, is it odd that he doesn't defend his title? It is for Crockett Cup historically. It should be. Mike says, depending on which promotion, you get plenty of bumps in the. Okay. God, you did it to me again. Demonetizing Mike.
He gets you every week.
He does, because I don't have time to read it. I'm trying to move this shit along. I did avoid a Mike one a while ago. I was like, nope, just gonna quietly go past that one.
I saw that one.
I'm gonna let that one go through though. Max is gonna catch mad cow disease. Yeah, listen. Don't forget, Dodie says Angelina's antics with fodder, like you were saying. Angelina's licking looked disgusting, which I guess is the idea. Man, let's finish this thing up here. We're on the home stretch. We have a conversation with Natalia Markova, who doesn't dwell on the past and what's happened. She sets goals and she crushes them. She's done everything she's ever wanted. She's going to bring it to Camille. And then the National Heavyweight Championship match, EC3 against the Thrillbilly Silas Mason, probably the most looked forward to singles match, I would think, for the pay-per-view. EC3 hits the headlock driver on this one. Instead of going for the win, he goes outside to pick up his belt with the intent on using it. Pollo grabs the title to protect her man. Silas charged for the big. So Pollo's up on the apron. Silas charges for the big boot. EC3 moves. He smokes Pollo with the boot accidentally. He's in shock as she collapses on the ground outside near the stairs. EC3 rolls him up for the win, and then Silas he doesn't do much. Very slowly, he kind of, in his shock, he seems to go outside the ring, Dave, and he looks down at Pollo, and then he steps over her on his way to the back. And that seemed to be the shocker of the night. What was the report from down there at ringside?
Well, I mean, everybody was shocked at what happened. And most of the time, the wrestlers, when they were done, would exit stage right. That they'd go off to the right, as if you were facing the ring coming down the stairs, you would exit to the right. Kyle was at the table. He got up and did a little motioning and whispering to Silas. I don't know if it was planned before or if it was a stir of the just spur of the moment. I could actually hear Kyle. I was maybe 10 feet away. Right. I could hear him whispering, "Walk over her and up the stairs." Then look back and just keep walking. And I'm like, so if it was planned, that's cool, but it doesn't look like it was planned. The move itself was, but they just wanted to get, I guess, a better reaction, at least a better picture, being that the hard camera was on the stage and they could get the reaction of him coming up the stairs and then walking to the back.
Yeah.
But it sort of disappointed me, but it's hopefully it's long-term storytelling. And just by seeing some of the stuff that happened the next night, the Southern Six is coming into play.
Yeah, Daloff mentions this in the chat. I heard Silas gave Pollo the boot for the next step with the faction from Australia. That's the Southern Six. I mean, as we saw in night 2, he comes out with Alex Taylor, no Pollo. And there have been some social media bits where, Pollo's got the neck brace saying he was in a zone. He was shocked. So we'll see what happens. It's a fun little storyline, and I certainly hope Pollo wasn't actually hurt, because it looked like a pretty good shot, and great on Pollo for taking that one. That is a shame that you heard that, Dave, and I hate those pay no attention to the man behind the curtain moments, right? That's a bit that's hard to hear. And Fuzz says, as a mark, I hated everything about this. Being smart, I'm confused about EC3 setup. There's a million ways that Thribbley and Pollo can go. Yeah, Pollo, who says, one tough broad. Absolutely.
Yep.
And I want to get to the last match here. It is the final match of the night. It is La Rebellion, your NWA World Tag Team Champions, versus I've lost my spot. Flip Gordon and Fodder, right? Is that correct?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Fodder was injured. That's right. Fodder was injured. Flip fought alone. It was the PJ Hawks storyline. Actually, La Rebellion was involved in that one too when that happened, when Luke was injured. So he wrestled, pretty valiantly, and essentially they just worked him down and worked him over. Fodder, who's not medically cleared, limps to the ring to help his partner. He starts hitting La Rebellion with the kendo stick, but the referee doesn't call for a DQ. He's focused on getting Angelina Love out of there, and as he's doing that, it's Vampiro. Vampiro's here. Jeremy's a big fan, and enters as a surprise to help La Rebellion. Mecha Wolf finishes with a frog splash on Flip, and it was a bit unclear to me, but the La Rebellion didn't quite seem to trust Vampiro. His motive wasn't quite there. I don't know, Jeremy. What were your thoughts? You're obviously a big fan of seeing Vampiro show up.
I was glad to hear that he showed up, especially after seeing him at World is Vampire.
Yeah,
and them go against it was him and Blue Demon Jr. Against La Rebellion. And when I found out that they weren't, they were kind of leery of it and everything, I thought that added a nice little layer to it, And it wasn't the usual interference that we're used to for La Rebellion either. Typically, we get Damien say with the mist. So we got spared that this time. So it was a nice change up.
It was. And Dave, were you surprised to see Vampiro come out, or was it nice to see?
I was very surprised. It was one of these things of, I'm not really sure what's going to happen. And I did notice that, Damien say wasn't not there. So I knew there wasn't going to be at least interference on his part, being that he wasn't there. But seeing Vampiro come out that just 3 months ago that they had that fight in Mexico City.
Yep.
They're actually using AAA.
They're connecting the dots, yeah.
Like you said, they're connecting the dots. They're going back, and if you follow the trail of who's wrestled who and somewhat of a storyline, they're building to something.
Right.
That it can be told in AAA. That there's more stories to be told there. Plus, it can be also told with the NWA and the World is a Vampire tour that's going out. That when they go down to Texas, hey, Mexico isn't that far away. Guys, jump on over, and we'll feature you guys. So we'll see what happens.
And Fuzz likes the psychology of being a surprise ally, which is what happened at World is Vampire Festival. Lou says, I think of it this way. We're gonna from guys licking people to love doing it. I call that an improvement. Yeah. That was the end of night one of the Crockett Cup. The Reluchador and I both really enjoyed it, and it's just turning out to be a hell of a pay-per-view at this particular point. I am going to change gears, however, and talk about what I mean. Honest to God, Jeremy, since you got me into the United Wrestling Network, I look forward to it probably as much. I'm going to say right now, maybe no, I'm not going to say it as much as I do the NWA. Jeremy's going to tell us all about the happenings in the UWN in a segment we call Championship Wrestling from Jeremy.
I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
The following is a presentation of the United Wrestling Network.
It's time for Championship Wrestling from Jeremy.
Talk to us, buddy. What happened in the UWN this week?
This week we're starting out with Memphis Wrestling, and the match that I chose was the Memphis Extreme Measures match with the Posse versus Tommy Dreamer and PCO. Was this a silky smooth match? No. Was this a fight forever match? No. Was this the best match of the show? No. That was Bosby and Kenway, to be honest.
Right.
But I'm a mark, and I enjoy PCO whenever he was doing his Dudley Do-Wrong as the Mountie. And I'm also a mark for Tommy freaking Dreamer, and you put those two guys together, that's my match of the week.
Can't go wrong. I mean, that's why I tuned in. Can we just go to that? Yeah. Sure. But Bosby Kenway, also really good.
Great match. I want to give them their flowers on this, and later on in my recap, I've got another match that I want to give my flowers to that didn't make the cut, but was still a solid match. But this was like I said, it wasn't the best match, but it was my favorite. Dreamer and PCO were in control for the majority of the match. At one point, PCO got a pair of scissors and cut off the ring apron and the ring mat peeling away the padding underneath to expose that the bare boards underneath there on the ring. He dropped he got a leg drop off the middle rope onto Simon, and then followed that up with a rolling top rope senton onto Simon. And then as Tommy was setting up little Chris for a Death Valley driver, Chris was able to rake the eyes and delivered a low blow, and then got a roll up for the steel victory on this. Like I said, it wasn't pretty by any means, but I for what it was, I loved it. You know. We then go to Championship Wrestling presented by Car Shield, and my match that I chose this week was the Golden Opportunity qualifying match between Pop and EJ Sparks and Charles R3 Cassis. The whole episode was great. Pull your earbuds out because we got beef candy the entire show on commentary. That right there was worth the price of admission for a family of 10.
Yeah.
But this was a David versus Goliath and Styles class match that was executed very well. EJ struggles from the beginning and got in very little offense, but the offense that he did get in was effective in wearing R3 down. And in the end, after attempting 2 and then landing 2 consecutive roundhouse rhythms, EJ Sparks advances in the Golden Opportunity tournament.
Surprise, surprise. Yep.
And a shout out to Savannah Stone and Brittany Blake. I believe it was Brittany Blake's debut in the UWN. That was a solid match. And 24K with Guy Tweakazetti, or Guy Cool, my bad. And the Mighty Zaddies was solid as well.
It was, yeah.
And then we go to Derby City Wrestling, and I picked Lord Crew and Aaron Williams versus Jake Something and Danny Limelight. Now, the one that I want to give a shout out to that you guys should watch also was between Mickey Midas and Myron Reed, the opening match of the show.
Right.
They are former tag team partners. Myron is a Louisville native, so him coming from in the MLW to give the rub to Derby City, big ups on that. And Myron Reed is just one hell of a wrestler. I really enjoy that, watching that guy. But this match was going to be Aaron Williams and Lord Crew versus Jake Something and Willie Mack. Willie Mack was unable to make it, possibly due to Aaron Williams. I kind of alluded to that at the beginning of the show.
You did.
But it was a solid, hard-hitting match from all 4 men, with both teams looking like they've been together for a couple of years. Had the right amount of, is this is it? Nah, we're getting a kick out. It wasn't overdone on that. I want to see Lord Crew and Jake Something square off again and again and again and again and again, and then eventually possibly team up together. But Lord Crew got the 3 count on this after Jordan Clearwater prevented Danny Limelight from getting back in the ring to break up the pin. Next week on Championship Wrestling presented by Car Shield, we will see Danny face Jordan for the United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Championship in a lumberjack match. And if you are not watching the Championship Wrestling presented by Car Shield Memphis or Derby City, you might be as big a jabroni as the Hulk Hogan.
Oh, much respect. Great nod for the Shiki baby. Very good. Thank you so much, my friend. Well, let's move on. Let's anchor the show with some fantasy booking and a little segment we like to call "I Respect You, Booker Man." Dave, we saw the return of Colby Corino on night 2, and we saw the heel pivot. Yeah, I was just super jacked myself. The heel pivot of Ricky Morton on on what we were talking about earlier. Talk to me about what could happen on these two different situations.
All right. Let's start with the quote unquote turn of Ricky Morton, or as I call it, the pivot. I never really saw it coming. I don't think anybody did. Like I had said before, I thought Kerry would do the coward thing and walk away, but he didn't. And now that they're together, if you don't know, Kerry was on tour down in Australia, and they started a thing called the Southern Six. Right now, there's only 4 of the Southern Six, and that's Thrillbilly, Kerry, Alex Taylor, and Kenzie Page. Why not throw Ricky in there? All of these people can talk.
Right.
But to have Ricky Morton, the man, the legend, the Rock and Roll Express, to have him be your advisor and or manager or spokesperson for the team, the Southern Six, to me, that would be great. I mean, all the knowledge that he can pass on to these wrestlers, as well as his son, he knows all the ways that other wrestlers have cheated to win. Think about how many times the Rock and Roll Express lost a match by underhanded tactics.
Right.
He knows how they got beat, and he can use that to pass along to the Southern Six. And I don't know, maybe he finally realizes all the times that he and Robert got beat, it wasn't because a better team beat them. They just chose not to cheat.
Interesting.
So maybe he just figured, well, if you can't beat them, join them. If Kerry isn't going to listen to me, why not join him? And if we're on the same page and in the same playbook, maybe he will listen to me.
Wow.
So there's in the back of my mind, I could see the Southern Six being something big.
Yeah.
And if you
awesome.
have the story to be told, tell it. This is a whole new story. Besides people knowing about the York Foundation, Ricky has never really been a quote unquote heel. He's always been the good guy. He's been the baby face.
Right.
So why not? I mean, like I had said, it wasn't a full heel turn. Ricky himself said, "Oh, I just made a pivot." I'm like, okay. But I mean, having Ricky be the spokesperson for the Southern Six, that would just bring even more heat upon them, because they're not all quote unquote heels, but we haven't seen what happened down in Australia yet. They haven't shown us. So we really don't know. So maybe it was all a plan beforehand, and they're going to show some of the stuff from Australia, and we'll see their true colors.
And if they don't, just to kind of throw some meat onto your book and sandwich here, you could wrap some of that Southern Six stuff up in a nice promo package and say this is who Ricky's gonna manage, like this crazy new group that just organically, got together down in Australia. Yeah.
Now, the second part of the fantasy booking is the return of Colby Corino.
Yeah.
Now, I was in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, he didn't sign maybe he'll show up again. And I wasn't thinking this close. I was thinking 75.
Right.
But man, the pop when he came out. But the thing is, the match that he was involved in, Alonzo came out and Jamie Stanley was nowhere to be found. Well, then as the match is getting ready to start, they're like, wait, there's a 7th person that's going to compete in this match.
Yeah, they even had Alonzo coming out like, how's my manager?
So it's like, okay, well, who knows what's going to happen. But I mean, Colby came back, and I mean, he generally looked happy to be there. Like he's walking into some place that is familiar, and he's happy to be there. I think it'll be good for the junior heavyweight division. Plus, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, there's so many second and third generation people. And if he's going to go against Kerry is one of those people he's an actual third generation because of his grandfather. But you could also look back to, what was it, WCW maybe 99 when they did the New Blood.
Right.
And it's basically they want to take over because they want to look to the future, not the past. They could do the same thing with the NWA. Hey, we're all second and third generation. We want to look to the future. We appreciate the past, but we want to move forward, not move back. And you look at all the people that are now wrestling. You got Colby, he's back. Kerry, but he's also involved with the Southern Six, so maybe toss Kerry out the window, and that'll be a Colby-Kerry battle that will go on for a while. You have the Dudley Boys, TNT, bring them back. There's your tag team. Samantha Starr, she could be in singles action. She could go after the TV title. Bobby Fulton's son was actually involved in a scramble match. Have him involved. Scion is quote-unquote Austin Idol's son. He could be involved, go after the national title or even the TV title. PJ Hawks, his dad is involved in so much wrestling and stunt work on TV that if you're going to keep PJ around, put him in a group.
Right.
And last but not least, who are we hopefully wishing to come in and battle for the Burke? Tessa Blanchard.
Tessa Blanchard, baby.
Third generation. Her granddad and her dad and her stepdad. So it's another story that could be told. And I'm sure there's other wrestlers that I haven't thought of.
Yep.
But if they're going to go now with groups, you're only stronger when you're together. So, I mean, they can do this, have Colby be the quote-unquote leader, but have him bring the fixers in, even though they're not quote-unquote generational wrestlers. They're the muscle to protect the rest of the group.
The Teen Horsemen of the NWA.
Yep.
Or as Lou says here, the Teen Titans of pro wrestling.
Yep. Exactly. I mean, use it to your advantage. If you're going to bring in these second and third generation wrestlers, put them in a group, because not all of them are strong wrestlers. But imagine Samantha Starr turning her back on Baby Doll. No, sorry, Mom. That's the old way. I'm joining my friends. Right. Imagine that. That's just, to me, it's not mind-blowing, but it's something that could have a real effect.
Yeah, I agree. That would be, or even Baby Doll coming along for the ride. She did.
Yeah.
She was wearing the T-shirt that I have, where the most violent match ever had, where she got into the Tully Magnum, chair to the head, I quit match. So she's been on the dark side for most of her active career. Yeah, let's go to the chat, man. Those are some amazing thoughts. And I want to do a couple for you as well here, Jeremy, because you have to forgive me. I'm a little off my game as we hit the 2.5 hour mark here. Just to go back to UWN first, I think Lou says UWN is the NWA in waiting. Yeah, I know what you mean. And also the other way around. The NWA is should be like where the UWN is.
Yeah.
And I think that's important as well. But Brittany Blake Dela says, I've seen her blonde or red hair a few times. She's pretty good. And Derby City Wrestling come up in your recommendations. Look, Jeremy convinced me months ago to go and check out the UWN, and there's Championship Wrestling from Carshield and Derby City look very much alike. They're same colors even. Steve Marquez, he makes the best stuff on a small arena or studio style wrestling there is. Memphis is like production value, like that local indie fed who got themselves a TV show. But I mean, you had Tommy Dreamer and PCO, and you had who else did you have recently? We had Jerry Lynn and
Jerry Lynn. We've had my brain just went blank.
Yeah. There's been a whole bunch, and they've got some amazing talent in house. Jeremy and I especially, and I think Dave, you're watching the shows too. But K Toomer's just like that guy's just a special character waiting to happen. You gotta tune into the UWN, and it's honestly it's not super easy to find if you don't know, but you got to look up Memphis Wrestling on YouTube, and that's where kind of all three groups under the UWN are dumping their stuff. They have made Danny Limelight go from for me, a second tier guy a couple of years ago to one of the best booked and best looking world champions around there. I think he's amazing.
And with the upcoming UWN women's title, you will be seeing women from Derby City, Championship Wrestling presented by Carshield, and Memphis Wrestling, all vying for that title.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. And it's just so much fun. If you're like, man, I wish the NWA were back where they were back in 2019 in terms of production and just the way everything was written. Don't forget that Dave Marquez was part of that, and maybe the driving force behind getting them there. And go watch what he's doing now. You ever watch a TV show or where like, oh, the writing is so amazing, this is so great, and then you find out the reason it's not so far is because that guy's out doing another show now, and you go watch that thing. That's what the UWN is like. It's really worth it.
Yep.
Yeah, back to the fantasy booking to wrap things up here. Lou says kind of rickied out, to be honest. Well, I mean, even if that's the case, making him he's not going anywhere. That's pretty clear. So making him a manager, I think, in Dave's book is a great idea. He could still grab a foot. Arguably he could do a drop kick, a Canadian destroyer when the ref's not looking. And that's all I want to see Ricky do in the ring, right? But I mean, he's amazing on the mic. So we talked about it earlier. I love that bit where they were walking out and Kerry looked so cocky. I didn't even know he was going to happen. But Ricky was just like, surprise, surprise, surprise. I didn't want to talk to you people. I just did. I followed my gut. See you later. It was just, I don't know. It was like hardcore Ted Lasso, man. It was, it's like, he's fun to watch. Colby Mike, your new tag team partner is Rogaine. He's got that rocking that serious stash, though.
That's sweet stash, though.
Sweet stash. Is Arn's son Brock under contract to AEW? I imagine so.
Yes.
He still wrestles there.
Yep.
I haven't heard about him on any independents or anything like that. So he's there. He's wrestled this year. Let me see. Ricky and Bobby Fulton feuding, having the Fixers and Corino back somehow. So many options. Yeah. Yeah, Fulton has been like, what are you doing, Ricky? And Ricky was like, get out of here, you know.
Yeah.
The only problem with that is that, you know, like if Fulton is going to get into it with Ricky, I don't want that to happen. Remember when he was going to fight the Fixers and they kind of helped him out of the ring, Ricky? It was like, okay, let's.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that.
No.
Children of the Corn, turn on all the olds. It wants you too, Malachi. That was for the original version.
Oh.
The Glove and Baby Doll was the first time I really enjoyed her in the NWA so far, so it would be great to see her managing in a sneaky way. Yeah, she's a bit much for me, Baby Doll on the outside. But hey, it's been a long time, and it just, I guess it's good to see her back. UWN is establishing what the territory system once was. Yeah.
Yep.
And you're going to see, I think I saw Danny Limelight's coming to Memphis, right? So that's a nice little push. I think they were advertising that as well. He's going to show up there. He's already in Derby and Hollywood. So there you go. Ricky should remain an agent, Mike says, as long as Billy pays. And there you go. Yeah, we got long hair, so Rogain's just well, I might need it at some point. I don't think my wife wants me to go bald, but I'm too old for that shit now, guys. That is gonna be it for us. It's wow, is it our longest show ever? Maybe.
Record time.
Record time. Really 60-minute live stream that takes 2 hours and 36 minutes plus whatever we're about to say now to complete. Social media, alliance-wrestling.com is your number one source for all news and information around the National Wrestling Alliance, the United Wrestling Network, and various independents around the world. And they are at the Alliance blog on all of the social media platforms. That's where you're going to find Jay, who runs this show. Jeremy, where are they going to find you, buddy?
You can find me over at Twitter at HJWOTS and on the YouTube at www.youtube.com/@worm5559 on YouTube.
Nice. And Dave Scooby, how about you?
You can find me at Dave Scooby on Twitter and Instagram, and at Dave Scooby1 on TikTok.
Was there already an at Dave Scooby on TikTok who owned the name?
Or
did you just decide to have the one?
I don't know. Either that, or maybe one night when I was under the influence of something, I tried to log in and forgot what my password was.
Okay.
So there's already a Dave Scooby there.
Been there.
It may be me. It may be someone else. It has no activity and nothing listed. So it's probably just me being under the influence of something and not paying attention.
I was just wondering. I've done. I used to have different names around the thing too. I am at the Alliance Gold on everything now, being the derivative bastard that I am. So I'm on. That's me on all the social medias. It's Instagram. That's Twitter. That's Facebook. That's something else. I don't remember. But tomorrow night 2 by the pros, the A Team, the Jaden and DKM and the boss himself, J Cal, will bring you night 2, the closing night of this pay-per-view, and run through it, the Crockett Cup. That's Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And, of course, the Vanguard program for our little Alliance family is the pre-party with J Cal. Every Tuesday right before Power, Jay comes on and runs down the show that's coming and all the things that are happening with the NWA. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Appreciate you guys coming every time you do. It seems to be getting more and more people in the chat all the time. I'll do a better job. There were just so many matches for this one. I had to keep going, guys. Thank you all so much for being here. We genuinely appreciate it. So until next time, we'll see you at the matches.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.